I like to start most of my presentation with a dictum or with a rhetorical question. Uh, what if I told you that adaptation is a single entity's response to changes in the environment? The ones that adapt survive. I like to start with sort of the definition of adaptation because the conversation starts with, or the center of the topic is about creating a culture of innovation by enabling conditions for psychological safety. And so we'll unpack all those concepts in a moment. Um, my name is Pepe Lopez. I'm a long time consultant and agile strategist specializing in building trust-based relationships critical for collaboration and innovation. I have over 20 years of experience rounding up my skill set, performing various roles as uh, project manager, program manager, portfolio manager, people leader in engineering teams, change management, and obviously in consulting, where I have developed a significant expertise in relationship building, quality frameworks, product management, roadmap execution, training and development. But most importantly, I have a hands-on experience helping cultures in transition. And I use the word culture here. It's a keyword. In fact, I'm going to talk with you about culture, trust, and creating conditions for enabling psychological safety and how this element intersects and intertwine throughout the presentation. So if this themes and topics are of interest to you, you're in the right place and the right time. And if not, at the end of the presentation, at the very least, I can help you select the next bottle of wine that you should bring to your next gathering. So, as you undoubtedly surmise, the name of the presentation is create a culture of innovation by strengthening trust, emotional intelligence, and psychological safety. And actually, before I go that, one of the reasons that inspired me to curate this presentation is because over the last few years, I've been part of multiple business agile transformations, optimizations, and we know the organizations are striving to adopt the agile mindset, do so understanding that innovation is critical to performance, survival, and growth in business models. There is no secret that uh, teams with higher levels of emotional intelligence innovate at faster rates than those teams where organizations still see risk taking with negative consequences. And we'll discuss the fines. I said there is no secret that teams with higher levels of emotional intelligence innovate faster. But for those who haven't heard from the Aristotle study at Google, we'll unpack those concepts in a moment. So as we'll discuss the findings of this study at Google, um, I can say that measuring trust levels, measuring psychological safety, could provide an incredibly accurate predictor of how effective your change strategy, your agile optimization will unfold. Given that research shows that the absence or the presence of psychological safety or trust-based relationships impacts the outcome of your transformation. Um, let's explore the presentation goals for tonight. After this presentation, you'll be able to identify key elements of high-performing teams. You'll understand what makes a group of individuals or people, what makes them or what turns them into a team. We'll learn how to measure, create psychological safety. And lastly, you'll visualize how the trust virtual cycle, it's a lightweight framework, can help you develop a culture of innovation. And as we delve into the learning objectives of this workshop, or rather, this presentation, um, you'll notice that the presentation is centered around some keywords: trust, the virtual trust virtual cycle, psychological safety, culture. These terms intertwines with other elements in team dynamics in the framework. As you listen to the presentation and pick up some themes of interest to you that resonate with your skills, with your experiences, please feel free to share your insights, as these insights, your comments, your participation will enrich this session. Okay. So let's do like a warm-up exercise. If you please humor me, I'd like us to sort of just like take a moment, and I'm gonna ask you to uh, please take a deep breath with me. Exhale. And what I really need is that think, and this warm-up is a moment of reflection, and I'd like you to think about the best team ever for you, whether you have been part of of that team, whether it's a sports team that you follow or you like, or a team or a volunteering organization that you've heard of and you follow, whatever the case might be, the best team ever for the next 20 seconds. Just if you humor me and close your eyes, think about that team. And in the next exercise, I'd like you to tell me in one word what made it such a great team. So let's just reflect for 20 seconds as you think of the best team ever. So as you can see, we'll come to this in a moment. I just want you to have a quick look. And if you see at the center, well, it just changed. It was trust. So we'll come to that in a moment. I'm going to share a an amalgam of other surveys that I've done. And if you notice, trust, collaboration, vision, communications are common themes. So the next exercise is what makes a great team, or what are the key characteristics? How do high performing teams leverage communication, trust, collaboration to be high performing? In recent years, many managers, many leaders have been studying or linking high performing teams to Formula One. So we're going to do like a really brief exercise. Let's have a look at the a really short video. The video is like less than 3 seconds. And so we're going to show the video in real time. I'm going to slow it down 50% for a second look, and then I'm going to slow it a further 25% for a closer examination. Please pay attention. It's very fast. And at the end of the clip, we're going to break into sessions and be prepared to discuss and share what you see. There's no right or wrong answers. I like to see what you detect, and then we'll come back and reconvene and engage another conversation. Okay, here we go.
That's cool. Yeah, we heard the sound this time.
So what I like us to do now, it's Maggie, could you please open, I don't know, say
Yeah,
maybe,
I made 5 breakout rooms, so it'll automatically assign folks.
yeah, that's fine. And then I don't want to prime you for the conversation, but just, come prepared, share your insights, share what you saw, try to connect the word cloud, what made it the best team, what a key element of your best team ever, with the video and experiences at work. And then we'll come back and we open the discussion.
Okay, it'll just be a quick one, folks, just a few minutes. I'm opening the rooms and you should be automatically assigned. So
Yeah.
just give it a second.
And I wanna bring back the conversation. So anybody from the breakout sessions, anybody would like to share a couple of gems?
Just take yourself off mute. You should have the ability.
Okay, I saw Lisa raising her hand. Okay, Lisa, you go ahead.
Yes, here's my hand. So the thing in that video that I think was so important was that every single person knew exactly what they needed to do. They knew what their job was, and they timed it all perfectly. There was very little waste. We look at flow and look to be lean and look to get rid of waste. There wasn't any there.
Would you mind telling me what is the one word you use to describe the best team ever?
Sure. I said in sync. And that was exactly what I saw in that video. It was like one person almost, just happening at the same time, everything, and they were done.
Anybody else? Did you guys see a manager roaming around? Scrum Master? Anyone? Anybody else?
Just because we didn't see them doesn't mean they weren't there on the rehearsal days.
Right. Right. But that's precisely, that's a good observation, right? That is a very good observation, that when it's time to perform, like you don't have to see them. There is no obvious leader that is guiding, right? That's, everybody knows what they're supposed to do. Rama, go ahead. Rama,
What we noticed is trust. Everybody trusted everyone, mainly the driver, that the driver would stop at that point and he won't hit onto anybody, and where they are standing is the perfect place. And the person who is doing the job, who is the observer, and who has to do the next task, everybody trusted the process and on each other. Very high trusted team.
Yep. Elisa, and then we'll return to the presentation. Elisa, you're next.
Yeah, we had quite a few things that we mentioned and noticed. One of them was that they had a great awareness of each other. They didn't get in each other's way. Also that they divided up the jobs evenly. Each person had their own individual job. They were skilled at it. They were prepared for it. They had all the tools needed. Yeah, so there was quite a few things.
Also, thank you. In the group that I participated, somebody mentioned retrospective, and the context for me was that in the Formula One, in this context, is very expensive. In 1992, I recall this. I'm a history buff, and I also happen to enjoy Formula One. The leading driver, his name was Nigel Mansell, and he was winning the race for like 30 seconds. But he ended up losing the race because of a pit stop that he went away. So anyways, let's come back to the presentation. And since we are discussing now, we have done two exercises to talk about key elements of high-performing teams. We watched a video of a high-performing team, and we discussed some of the key elements. So I like to ask the group, what makes a group of individuals, what turns them into a team? Anybody?
Giving them a challenge, a shared challenge.
Oh, I love that. A shared challenge. Anybody else?
People have a role, they know their role, and they do it.
They know the role, they do it. Shared challenge.
Sometimes a great leader can help transform them.
Ray, that's good.
Cooperation and
I'm sorry,
teamwork.
say that again.
Cooperation.
Cooperation. Yep. So I like to use this image. I do quite a few times a year this workshop. Well, this talk in a workshop format, and everybody who lives in New England is familiar with this picture. My question to you is, would this be a team? The group of guys. This picture tells your brain that it's a team.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
why?
I'd say.
They're working together for a shared purpose.
Yep. Yep. Anybody else?
They're respecting their space.
Yep. So yes to all. Yeah, what makes a group of individuals, what turns them into a team is the shared vision, shared values, and actionable goals. Like in this case, it's pretty obvious they want to get the car unstuck from the snow. But mainly is the shared responsibilities, the shared vision, the shared values. That's what turned a group of individuals into a team. When they share those, when they have a common goal, when they have a common vision, that's what drives them together. Like in my case, in my case, my first and biggest team is my family, and I want to be part of that family, so I choose to be part of it. And at work is the same. Obviously, regardless of the conditions of the job market right now, when you're selecting a company of a work, there has to be something desirable such that you want in. So I'm going to share a couple of definitions that I found that I believe are useful. Diana Larsen talks about what makes a team is co-intelligence. Talks a little bit about psychological safety and contextualizes a team in terms of high performance when there is collective intelligence. And by definition, according to Merriam-Webster, it's a noun. It's a number of persons associated together in a work on activity. But as we established in this picture and throughout the presentation, share responsibilities, share goals, shared vision. That's what turns individuals, share collaboration, communication, trust. As that's what turns a group of individuals into a team. Now let's talk a little bit about how are we doing in time? A little bit of psychological safety, which is nothing really new for in terms of organizational or yes, organizational development. Anybody who's familiar with the father of scientific management, Frederick Taylor, he created, he's the author of scientific management, otherwise known as Taylorism. He was the first individual that focused on defining a single optimized value stream, one that or one way to do something more efficiently. Some say that this was the birth of lean thinking. The only problem with Taylorism was that he had very little respect for people. He didn't respect workers. He thought that managers were hired to do the thinking and workers to do the work. So I'm gonna jump to 1943 when Maslow published the hierarchies of needs. And so what it does really is turning the emphasis from systems and efficiency to individuals. And that's why I am. So there are a lot of things in history that talk about psychological safety. I just picked specific events that I believe are relevant for my talk. In 1965, Sheen and this is a typo, is Bennis at Sloan MIT School, they coined the term psychological safety in a paper. Then in 1990, William Kahn from Boston University published a paper on psychological conditions of personal engagement, linking psychological safety to attitudes and behavior. Amy Edmondson in 1999 links psychological safety to team learning. And then most of you might have heard in 2016, read the article in the New York Times or heard from Charles Duhigg, who did a study at Google. The name of the study was the Aristotle study, and he went on to observe teams and try to figure out what made a team more innovative than other. And after hours of observation and surveys and interviews, the results was that the teams with more talent or more experience or better tools were not necessarily number one in innovation. What made teams innovate faster were those teams where they had developed really high levels of psychological safety. In other words, they were free to do experiments, knowing well in advance that that was the goal, to do experiments to innovate. And as a result, they really, really live by no idea is a silly idea or bad idea. And then let's fast forward to 2020. Timothy Clark published the 4 stages of psychological safety, which is a framework that I use frequently to unpack or to talk about how to measure psychological safety. And there are like 4 stages, and we'll talk a little bit more about it in a moment. And the last is 2024. You are here at Agile New England because you want to make a difference. So that's a little bit of history on psychological safety. So I want to piggyback on Timothy Clark and the 4 stages of psychological safety and ask this group, we're going to do an activity in a moment, in team settings, which of these activities will be the riskiest? Connect with other team members, challenge the status quo, learn new skills, or contribute. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you again to go to your Menti, please. In team settings, which of these 4 activities would you want to do first? Next question, in team settings, which of those 4 activities is the riskiest? Do you guys see it's a complete inverse order, right?
Yep.
And what I want to get at with this, right, as we kind of go into the last learning objective, as I mentioned earlier, those 4 words or those 4 questions, what do we want to do first, right? You challenge the status quo, contribute, learn, and connect with others. Those are sort of like the quadrants that Leader Factor uses to measure psychological safety. And it's a complete, it's a robust framework, but obviously tonight is not about the framework. It's just about learning how to do it, when to do it, and a few tips, strategies to build the trust necessary to do that. And to do that, we're going to talk now a little bit about the remaining objective, which is visualize the trust virtual cycle, because everything starts with trust. The reason why trust is paramount is because culture theory informs us that like a set of pattern of behaviors in individuals become a habit, a pattern of thought or behaviors in a team becomes a norm. And a pattern of thought or behavior, a pattern of or a collection of habits, thoughts, and behaviors in an organization becomes a culture. That's why it's important for me to talk a little bit about how the trust virtual cycle works. So everything starts with building those trustworthy relationships, increasing trust levels so that you as a leader, your team members enable those conditions for psychological safety. As the individual has a context to practice psychological safety, emotional intelligence, listen to others with respect, doing experiments at work, sharing ideas. And those ideas or those behaviors become part of the team. That becomes the norm, and the collection of the habits of the individuals and the team is the culture. And that's the whole point of this conversation, or this talk. Creating a high levels of of trust and psychological safety. That's what is going to lead to teams doing experiments, and it will innovate at a faster rate. So let's unpack this trust building experiment. I'd like to, I'm gonna pause for just to say if there's any questions. I cannot see the chat. Any questions, Maggie?
I haven't seen any come in for the chat, but feel free to raise your hand or come off mute real quick.
Okay, so how to build trust, or how to start engaging in those trust building activities. I like to use this framework. Leaders provide 4 pillars to support that enable psychological safety. And those pillars are structure and consistency, norms and agreements, connectedness, and managing the workload. So let's start with structure and consistency. Structure and consistency clearly communicated. If we think a little bit about the Formula One video, it's kind of like easy to connect the dots. It's very easy to, yes, everybody in the video knows exactly what they are doing, when they have to do, and it's, in my opinion, it's obvious that they trust each other. They've done the same job multiple times, that they do it, in the words of Barbara, with elegance, almost like a dance. But that's because everybody knows what they are doing and when to do it. So that's the portion of structure and consistency that I like to bring to your attention today. You start by establishing the pillar, structure and consistency, akin to reviewing a rubric in a classroom. You need to create an environment with plenty of clearly define the roles, what to expect, providing the structure, the structure and consistency. There's a blur on my screen, apologies. So the column is, although it's focusing on the structure and consistency, is loaded. Leaders must foster transparency and equality. There has to be a well-documented charter for the mission, the work that needs to be done by the team, a clear set of expectations with respect to requirements, performance, timelines, and deliverables up front. Setting the expectations, ensuring that these expectations are known and clearly understood, and follow eliminates room for interpretation and unintentionally creating understanding and performance gaps. So again, the first pillar is structure and consistency. Things as trivial as learning how to say no, it's important to build that trust. If you say that you're going to do something, you say yes, and you do it, people are going to believe in your word. And if you said, no, I cannot do it, and you explain why, then people will respect that you don't have the bandwidth. And you may say, no, I cannot do it. I need to do something else in between. And that's establishing or setting the expectations. Norms and agreement is the second pillar. And for this, I like to do like a little exercise. Norms and agreements, we have to have a special consideration when we work, especially in hybrid teams, and when you're trying to set up the operating agreements. The team, all members, whether it's vocalizing or sending suggestions via email or electronic boards, must participate setting norms and agreements. The norms embody the team. If everyone states what they stand for, what's important to them, it creates a mutual respect for all operating agreements. Or yes, and I like to do a quick exercise just to see how important or how we're going to like stack the concepts that we talked earlier: consistency, working agreements, understanding, clearly communicating, setting the expectations. How many times have you heard a team member or your boss say, I need this ASAP, or I'll get you that, or I will get that to you shortly? It's not a big deal. It's just a line of code. Can I get back to you later? It's just a small change. Other people have to deal with the same problem. I will update our system soon. Do this when you have time, or I'll do it when I have time. Any issue, any comment with this statements?
They're all just vague and undefined.
Yeah, and then just to piggyback or to connect the dots, right? If we can review all those questions of those statements, if you add the structure and the consistency, and you utilize the pillars to build the trust, you realize that these issues are easily addressable. If you define what it means ASAP, so if the team defines, I need ASAP, that means within one business day, or you eliminate ambiguity by adding exactly when you need it, or when you will do something, okay, or when you will address a system. So anyways, just a quick practical application of the pillar. The third pillar, research show effective teams are more connected to each other and the goal. So I'm going to start by saying that yes, managers are important. Managers are the leader, connecting the tissue, holding the fabric of the team. I undoubtedly, I fully align with that. So that being said, the manager is a pivotal point for the team. The lines of communication have to be like wide open, not only between the manager and direct reports, but also the manager can be instrumental in creating opportunities for team members to connect to each other. It's so important. So important because as we see in the next pillar, getting to understand what motivates your team members, getting to understand what motivates them, then together we can strategize and help each other better. We'll understand the shared goals. We'll understand specifically how we work, what get us going, what bother us, and that can only be understood with complete lines open of communication. And again, great teams not only communicate openly to and from the manager, but between team members. One way to enable this communication is hold one-on-one meetings, not only with staff, but also create opportunities for team members to connect on one-on-one. That should be a priority. Create opportunities for team members to get to know each other beyond the work, right? So often I find myself that sometimes when I work with other team members who are like parents, I know that we share some of the same views or some of the same fears. That phone call from school in the middle of the day, and we get it. We understand that sometimes they have to take time off to take our children to the dentist, to the doctor, to a soccer game, and understanding beyond working agreements is very, very important. And I'm gonna rush a little bit through the last, in the interest of time. Last is connectedness and recognition. I'm sorry, life and work balance. This pillar obviously builds in the previous three pillars. The more connected the team is across the board, the easier to identify areas of opportunity. Fall in love with the questions that you ask your team members and your boss. This will help you understand your team members, and your leaders better. Maybe they have a situation at home. Maybe you have to pick up the slack. Maybe inadvertently one of your team members has just too many things in his or her plate, and as a team we have to be aware. As a leader, of course, but as a colleague, we need to be able to like step up to the plate and pick up the slack whenever necessary. Some of the questions that I usually offer in a workshop setting that they could help you start the conversation is, what makes simple things such what make you happy, right? What do you feel about work, or what do you think, or what do you feel about me most of the time? Things that can start a meaningful conversation. So in the interest of time, folks, I'm going to just wrap it up and go to recommended reading. I used these 4 books, many others, but mostly these 4 books have helped me curate the presentation for you. And again, in complete transparency, this is typically a 4 to 6 hours of workshop, and I compress it into an hour just to give you like a taste, create those 4 learning goals and bring them to you, and hopefully you have anywhere between 1 and 4 takeaways this evening. And with that, I'm gonna make some space for some questions and answers. Stop sharing.
Yeah, folks, feel free to come off mute, or if you would rather put the
Any
any
reaction? Yeah, any
questions in the
reaction?
chat.
And thank you. Any reaction, or you might disagree with any of the pillars or the methods or some of the pointers. Anything is welcome. It's a safe place. I promise you that. Wow, the quiet crowd.
Well, I love it. It's funny because in my role as product manager and product owner, that's pretty much all I'm ever trying to do is creating that safe space for the team, because people say, Maggie, what is it you say you do here? And I'm like, I really don't do anything. Is my answer. Like, I really, I don't write code. I'm not a program manager. I'm not running a project. I'm not anyone's, they're not my direct reports. But what I am doing is creating that space and creating that environment and really facilitating the environment, right? So that my teams, which often are very dynamic and diverse, can get to that and can approach that safety and maximize the safety.
Mhm.
And
One of the things I would like to add here, thank you, Maggie. Hoping I'm not interrupting what you were trying to say more.
Not at all. Go ahead.
So what I was thinking is healthy boundaries in the workplace is something that could be added here. Yes, we are doing the trust, EQ, and safety, but establishing those norms with healthy boundaries where there is a limit, even with the trust and EQ, would be something that could bring value.
So do you have an example of like like you were saying, good boundaries?
Right. So while people have the freedom of speech and we can openly talk about what are the issues and stuff like that, not stepping onto others' roles. So a Scrum Master shouldn't be talking about how a developer should do their job or vice versa. So things like that, not stepping onto each other's roles and not judging and using more constructive feedback, that type of healthy boundaries in the early on makes the psychological safety come together much better and faster than leaving it open. Generally, I would even put a framework in the initial stage saying, I would like you to be able to do this. So, what is the constructive criticism and what is the advantage you are having, kind of a way to establish some healthy boundaries in the initial stage.
Right.
So
So
it doesn't become a
setting
conflict.
right. So setting those it sounds like you're talking about the terms of engagement of the team, like how this is how these are terms. This is what we're gonna provide. Constructive feedback, and and if we have if you have criticisms, what's the old axiom, criticize in private, like like if like
Right.
set up the one-on-ones, yeah.
So
Great feedback.
establishing those ground rules, so these meetings doesn't turn into pointing fingers and conflicts that becomes more messy than what it is. Becomes also each team speaking as one team when there are multiple teams. Those are some of the things I would establish to start with.
I just have one other thing that it seems like not many people are commenting, but one thing that I always think about with team dynamics, and I think you were touching upon some of this, is you're talking about the clarifying of the communication, like I need this ASAP. Another thing to kind of add structure or to get better engagement, especially as we come out of the COVID world, so to speak, is there's a philosophy that says the words you use are only about 9% of the communication. The other 50% is your facial expressions, and then 41% is tone. So in when you text someone or you email someone, there's no tone. So maybe this is the old person in me, but sometimes I say it's more effective to pick up the phone or walk down the hall and actually interact face to face, because I think what can impact teams significantly is poor communication. But once you establish, as you were saying, that trust, like with the engine team, they had the nonverbal communication going on already, but they already had that strength. But before you build and get that trust, you have to have more of that face to face, because I don't believe, I think the tone that you get from emails is the perception of your tone. So you
Yep.
hear your, if you get an email from your boss, I need this ASAP, you hear in your head the guy you do or you do not trust, and you're like, oh my God, what does he need now? He's sending this at 6 o'clock at night on a Friday, and he says he needs this ASAP to have to work all weekend, kind of thing. So, I think that kind of goes in conjunction with a lot of things you said.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ken, for that. So true. The tone, especially as you said, as we were coming out of like COVID. I'm going to share a story that is going to embody that and I hope that is funny now. But I had a manager who she was really, really she was really cool, very empathetic. And one day I got a phone call from school that my little guy wasn't feeling great, and I rushed to her office and I said, Katie, I gotta go home. I have to pick up my little guy. He's not feeling well. And then she literally winked at me and said, and then the tone, right? The sort of empathetic mother understanding a father that needed to go and pick up a child. And she winked at me and said, like, Pepe, I'm glad that you have your priorities straight. Go and I'll see you tomorrow. Okay. I used the same phrase over Teams a few years ago, and without tone and without context and without gesticulation, it was so wrong. It
Yes.
went so wrong when someone in the team, they have to go and pick up take their child to the doctor, and I was trying to sort of use the same phrase, and it went completely bad. I was accused of being sexist and like a lot of things, and it was the same phrase, but without context and without tone, it went really, really, really bad. Roseanne, I know you want to say something.
Thanks, Pepe. Yeah, so what I find fascinating on this topic is all the organizations want the innovation, right? Yet the predominant mindset that is out in the workplace is the exact opposite of what is going to create trust, emotional intelligence, psychological safety, and ultimately innovation. So I find that fascinating.
Do you have any sort of insights into like what do you think that causes or contributes to it? There are many. I'm just curious to see what you could share.
Absolutely. It's what everybody has grown up in the world, right? That is what has been touted as the successful model and the culture to be and the culture to follow. The reality is that is not what is most innovative. That is not what is most productive. That is not what is most healthy for organizations. Yet that is where overall the world is. So if we really want this to happen, we've got to change our mindsets.
So are you saying that there are more people out there that are in the mindset of this is the way we've always done it and this is the way we're going to continue to do so?
I'm saying there's a lot of people out there who are in the mindset of I win, you're going to lose. That is not a mindset that gets you to innovation.
Yeah.
Or the hero I see a lot of sort of the hero worship, like, oh, this person's the best. This is the superhero. This is and everything else is secondary to this guy or this woman. Yeah.
Well, Pepe, you had the word up there, collaboration, that was common. And, I think with collaboration, you have to think of the concept of winning together. So good,
You
true
nailed it.
collaboration is winning together.
You nailed
So
it.
either you lose alone or you win together. And that concept is something culturally that I think a lot of organizations strive for.
Yep.
But, I think in this work environment, and I speak, from recent experience as I'm unemployed right now, it's great to talk about that win together. But then when, a company decides to lay off 15,000 people, those 15,000 aren't winning together in any way. So I think that's a part of what creates that kind of win-lose, me versus you kind of mentality. And it's really difficult. And I think, for the first time in my career, I think I'm recognizing that even from the networking standpoint, it's really hard to get people to help you and advocate for you to get into a next job because they're already competing with you even when you're not working there.
Right.
So it's tough.
And from also hard experience, also been on the bench for longer than I'd like to be. A lot of places are doing Agile just because everybody else is doing Agile. And when you say, hey, have you considered doing XYZ because here's the benefits of doing those things, and it runs counter to the culture at the organization, the no's vary from just no, we're not ready to make that change, to if I can be slightly colorful for a moment, picking buckshot out of your backside.
How dare you challenge that convention, Elizabeth?
Oh, I toned that down.
No, and I'm just laughing because it's like, yeah, it's what are we saying? What makes teams, challenging the status quo? That's where we need to be able to go, right? Directly A to B, right? Not, yeah.
Yeah, one of the examples I can give, when I worked in a team, I'm still unemployed after quitting that job, but I informed my manager that I have to be out of the office a specific 2 days because my kids' school is getting completed and I have to attend their last day of the school events, graduation ceremony, smallest ones. She arranged very important meetings on the exact same 2 days. And I re-informed, this is my product, I'm the product owner. How can you arrange on the 2 days I can't be there? She says, you are lying. Graduation is not those 2 days, it's the different days because my kid is in the same grade. Her kid attends a different school district and she moved from Japan. She had no clue. And she outcalled me in the team that I'm lying. That
Wow,
was
that's
kind of like
horrible.
that was the last thing that said, oh, this is it. But see, the lack of trust, what I'm talking about is not the personal complaint, but lack of cultural understanding, lack of trust becomes the problem. So this is very important, that psychological safety. I could have said I can't attend and leave it there if I knew that she's culturally unaware and she might pick up like that with a judgment. But I didn't realize that she doesn't have that trust. So I openly said why I will not be able to attend, and she took it as I'm lying because in Japan it seems all schools end at the same time. And not in US, not in
Wow,
Massachusetts at least. So
thanks for sharing that. That's all. Sorry that happened to you, but I'm sure we all have some sort of horror stories similar. Yeah.
but you see, these are very simple things, cultural awareness when we are working in global teams from homes and different lifestyles and at different paces of life. One is a parent, one is retired parent, is at home, whatever it is. So that understanding of humanity, bringing that humanity and trusting the team. If they can't do it, they can't do it, you know, and they don't need to give even a justification. The establishing that kind of ground rules becomes very important.
Yeah, and it's like it always amazes me that like managers take that stance because there's certainly plenty of places where managers who manage people can add value, and that's when you have the person on the team who is not holding up their end of the bargain for some reason. So then you work with that person like, is there something at home? Is there something, do we need to adjust your work? Is there, like making sure they understand the engagements or even letting that person go? I've had to let go overachievers, right? Because they were just crushing the souls of other people on the team because they were not, the rest of the team wasn't expected or willing to work 100 hours a week. And this person had no life other than they had no balance. And it was just so hard to be on a team with him. And I'm like, this is I'm willing to sacrifice this person, and because they're just killing the team morale, and there's no trust, there's no, this person's just such an outlier. And the ironic thing is, after I left that team, went somewhere else, whatever, I heard that they hired him back after I
They
left.
are
That's
called they are called rescuers, right? They think they are rescuing the entire world. So
Yeah.
they finish others' job or push others. I finished
Yeah,
my job.
you're
You
right.
are holding me up.
And all they did was piss everybody off and kill morale and kill trust and kill everything that we're talking about here. And I was like, I don't understand how blindsided people can be. Or put that guy on a team by himself, right? Just put him on a team by himself if you need to have him, right? Just not, yeah. Anyway,
He
the
was
time.
in the I'm gonna
Every
win,
culture
you're gonna
brings a
lose
different.
mindset.
So it's 7:49. So we've gone a little over. I'm gonna stop the recording. That's okay. If you, Pepe, if you're done with we're just in the discussion parts here,
No,
right? It's
no, yeah, we're done. I really enjoy the comments, in particular, how Roseanne and Ken sort of like connected the collaboration part, the competition.